Hello, AniCod here, and today it's my duty to turn you from a beginner electrician into a master electrician. Well, not quite, let's call it semi-pro. I've got a couple of very easy circuits and then a couple of slightly harder ones, and we'll see how they go. So let's just say you want to get lighting into your base to start with then. All you need is some sort of lighting, and you also need a battery for power output. Now there's three different size batteries. This is the smallest one. There's a bit of information there. We'll go into the information a little bit later on. There's some very important things on there. But for the time being, all you really need to know is the power output, as you can see, when linked up to another electrical item, puts power into that item, and there you go. You can't get any more simple than that. Now there's a couple of things wrong with this circuit, and that's the fact the battery is draining, as you can see. The light costs 2 active usage, as you can also see, and the maximum output is 10. So in theory, we can run 5 lights from this battery. So one thing we can do to control the flow of electricity is just put a simple switch down. Now you can't get much more simple than this. If you put the power going into the switch, and then we'll put the top of the switch going into the light, and then we've actually got a working switch. So the battery will only put power to the light when the switch is active. Now there's another problem with this, and as you can see, the time is going down on the battery, and that's because we need power in. Now one thing we can use is solar panels for this. Now solar panels obviously only work in daytime, so try not to put the solar panels indoors because they just won't work, and you just plonk them down. It's best to put them out away, like on the roof or something, to protect them, and the solar panels have only got one output. You can't put anything into a solar panel. So all you do is put the solar panel from the output into the battery input, and that battery is now charging. The good thing about this update is batteries can now charge and decharge at the same time, which means a battery will only draw the required power and still maintain its charging. And as you can see, the charge left is actually going up because of the solar panel. Lovely. Because of this then, we can actually link more lights in. We've still got excess power to use. And if you look at a light, you might notice that there's a power input and a pass through. So the power input obviously goes into the power in, and then if you use the pass through from the active light and put that into the power in of a separate light, then that will also activate that light. And you can do the same to as many lights as you want and just keep them linking up. Just remember, each light costs 2 power, and with a small battery you only get 5. Just remember with this, the switch also costs 1 power, so you've actually got 9 power to play with for the lights, which gives us an odd number, which means we can only power 4 lights if you've got a switch active. Now if you've got multiple solar panels, it is possible to link these together. You can only put one wire going into the output of a battery, so if you can get all this electricity combined from 3 solar panels, let's say, you can have triple the amount of power going into that battery. Now you do need something called a root combiner for this, which is a small reddish purplish block. I would strongly recommend putting these root combiners in between the solar panels just to save on running back and forth. And all you do is put one output from a solar panel into the root combiner and the same into the other side, and then in the top bit you've actually got the power output from 2 solar panels, as you can see. So you can link this into a battery. Now to link a third, all you need is another root combiner, and for every solar panel you add, you just need 1 extra root combiner to go with it. So all you have to do is link the out of the doubled up root combiner, if that makes sense, into the bottom along with your 3rd solar panel. So then once both inputs are going in, you've got 3 solar panels running into this top root combiner. All you simply have to do then is get the wire coming out of the top and run that into the top of your power source, and then that will charge up very nicely. Now let's say for example you want to run a high output item, for example a sentry turret. Sentry turrets cost 10 power, and if you remember from a minute ago, the small battery outputs a maximum of 10 power. Now this doesn't matter if you've got 20, 30 solar panels going into it, that's got nothing to do with the power output. The power output is fixed and you can't change it. Now what I'm doing here is using a branch just to give you an example. Now if you put this battery directly to a sentry turret, it would be able to power it. You wouldn't be able to use that battery for anything else else without turning the sentry turret off first. So this then is a good indication to start upgrading your batteries. Now, just for argument's sake, there is a medium battery, but I'm just going to go straight to a large battery. Now, I'm just showing you here that the battery has actually reached its maximum output, as you can see. The way you pick batteries up is just to grab a hammer, pick it up, and then you can plonk a new battery down. It's pretty much that simple, to be fair. Now, the large batteries do take up more space, obviously, but they work exactly the same as the medium or small batteries. Now, the output on the large battery is enough to power almost any base, obviously depending how big your base is. If you're a solo player, it should be able to power your wildest dreams, as long as you've got enough charge going into it, i.e. from wind turbines or solar panels. You should be laughing. So let's say you want to power multiple things from one battery then, and you don't want to use branches constantly. Well, it is possible to turn your one output from your battery into 3 identical outputs. When I say identical, I mean it'll split the power 3 even ways. For example, we can put the output from the battery into the splitter in the top, and then the branch downs will actually give us 99 power out of each output. Now, obviously, when one output uses power, it'll drop the rest of them evenly, but it'll keep it all even. So just for argument's sake, the large battery can very, very easily power multiple sentry turrets, multiple beacons, defences, lights, pretty much anything, as long as you've got enough charge going into it. For example, here it's powering the lights of the base, it's powering sentry turrets and beacons, and it's still got tons of power left. Now let's get a little bit more complicated then. Now, say if we want to see if anyone's door camping us but silently. Well, we can do that quite easily with what you call a HBHF sensor. It's basically just detects people within range. I think the range at the minute is 20 meters. All we have to do is set up a light or a speaker or something like that, something like this. Unfortunately, the pass-through on the lights don't work. So on this occasion, I actually tried to link up the light and the speaker together by using the light pass-through. As it turns out, you can only go straight into the light or straight into the speaker. Even the electrical branch doesn't work, unfortunately, so you need one sensor for every alarm that you want. I'm sure they're going to fix that in future. All you have to do is put power into the HBHF sensor. The power out goes into the item that you want to be activated if someone's activates the sensor. So all you have to do is use your little wiring tool as usual. There is actually a pass-through, but unfortunately, like I've just mentioned, you can't actually link it up to the speaker because it just doesn't work. We'll link it up anyway, but it's not going to do anything. So now what you're going to need to do is actually alter the settings, and if you get the hammer in your hand, you can actually alter it to include or exclude depending on what you want. So you can set it to include authorized people. When it says authorized, it means on the tool cupboard, and you can it to exclude people outside and just include yourself, vice versa, and mess about like that. So as you can see, I've included myself in that, and I've actually activated the light. So imagine I'm a door camper sat outside. As long as the sensor's out of sight, I know it's not out of sight here, but you are gonna be hiding this somewhere. Maybe if you've got stairs to your house, hide it under your stairs, somewhere like that, and that light will go off when there's a door camper outside. Pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Like I say, it would be nice to link it up with a speaker as well. On this occasion, I'm going to actually link it to the speaker separate, just so you can see what it sounds like. So we'll shut the door and we'll use the power output, and if I'm quiet, you can actually hear I've set the alarm off. And when I'm out of the sight of the HBHF sensor, it's off. When I'm in range, it's on. So you can even have lights and speakers in different parts of your base, warning you when people's at various points of your base. You can set them up on exterior walls, for example. Now, if we want to link all of this together and turn it wireless, there's a very, very ingenious thing we can do. Now, this thing here is actually a broadcaster, and this actually sends a code out to either a pager or something similar. So what will happen is we need to set the frequency to whatever. I'm just going to put any 4-digit number. If you set the pager to exactly the same frequency, top tip, don't set it to your door codes, because if you get killed and someone picks up your broadcaster and it's got a 4-digit code, they'll try that code on your doors if you're close to your base. So try a different 4-digit code, and if you do die and they get your receiver, make sure you change the code. So for example now, as you can see, it's setting off my pager. So say if I'm at the other end of the map, some raiders come along or there's people hanging around, it'll set the pager off, that's in my pocket, and you know to turn around and get back to base. And that's what the broadcaster does. You can set it to silent so it just vibrates. It still makes a sound, but you do get the little electricity emblem so you can see it going off. There's all these different things you can use. Now remember, there is certain monuments that use frequencies, and when those monuments are being activated, you can actually set your pager to that frequency, and you know when you need to make yourself over and go for some sort of counter. There's also receivers. Now this is just a little aerial, for example, but it's just a little receiver, and what we can do is use something called a door controller. These are pretty straightforward bits of kit if you know how to use them. It's one of those bits of kits where once you use it once, it just becomes second nature, but it's a bit of a pain to get used to it. Now to actually link it to your door, make sure you've got a door unlocked. If you just try and pair it to a locked door, it won't work, as you've just seen. You have to have it green unlocked. Once you pair it, the light will turn green, and then you can lock it again, and that is now paired. So it doesn't need any electricity going into it, amazingly enough. You do get a green light, and say for example we want to put power going into this antenna, we can then get the power out of the antenna into the door controller, and the power out will go pretty much into anything that you want to be activated by the antenna. To set the antenna, all you need to do is set it to the correct frequency, as you can see here. So we'll set it to the exact same code, and once you click the button by using a RF transmitter set to the correct frequency, don't forget about that or it won't work, it should open the door. There we go. And because the pager is set to the correct frequency as well, it'll obviously set your pager off every time you click the button. So there we go, pretty straightforward. Now this works from anywhere in the map. So for example, you want to nip out, your friend comes online, all you have to do is set your transmitter to 0 or whatever, run around the map. When your best mate gets to the front door, change the transmitter to the correct code and hit it and let him in. Or you could just tell him the code of the base, but let's just say for example you've got a lock on your door, you've been playing solo for a bit. Yeah. Right, anyway, now we're going to go up into something a little bit more extreme. And when I say extreme, I mean this will eradicate all door campers automatically, even though you're at the other end of the map. So everything is what I've taught you today, and it's all linked together. So we've got aerials, that's linked up to door controllers. In this case, it's linked up to a garage door. On the other side of this little shed area is the garage door. We've got a transmitter, we've got a receiver, we've got a pager, we've got an HBHF sensor, and all of these are linked together running off the same network code, the same 4-digit number. So for example, I walk outside and I get, just imagine I'm a door camper and this happens, and there we go. Now anyone trying to walk around will actually get shot to absolute crappery from the auto turret. Now it's good for a little bit of fun. Obviously you will get people trying to waste these turrets, and it can be a little bit of a waste of resources, but it's a good bit of fun. It will catch some people out. It's a good way to farm people as well. So you might have noticed that our little pager goes off. So you can just imagine we're actually at the other end of the map, and within range, which is a 20-meter range, it will set off the pager. Now, because this linked, it'll also work with your transmitter if you obviously set it to the correct code. Now, again, it doesn't matter if you're at the other end of the map or not, as long as you've got this code and you press the button, you can open any door that's activated with a door controller. And again, you don't just need to use it with a door, you can use it for anything, but I'm just using it for this example. It's been a relatively short-ish video, but I've just tried to get as much information as I can in there. There's a million things you can do with these electronics, and if you want to see more, just let me know and I'll get some more videos out. If you decided to use this setup and you've got some stories to tell, feel free to leave a comment down below and let me know exactly how it went for you, if it went well or not, or if people just come back with rockets and just flattened your base because they got annoyed with getting shot every time they walked past it. But yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've got any more suggestions, feel free to let me know, and I'll put the schematics up again for this final build. Thank you. If you've watched it this far, you're an absolute legend. Feel free to leave a like. If you want to see more, feel free to leave a sub. Thanks again.